How nice was that, Mark Bunzel? Good evening, everybody.
Boy, we really classed the place up a little bit. A new video
Yeah,
intro, new music,
you know, you
great
give
new
us
boats.
you give us a week off, Mark. You never know what's going to happen.
I know somebody got into the control room while you were away.
Yeah, that's the handiwork of my colleague Karsten McIntosh. So hats off to Karsten for putting that gem together.
Yeah,
Outstanding.
thanks, Karsten.
Well, it's nice to see you, Mark. I wonder if this is like riding a bike. We took last Thursday off. I hope you and yours had a lovely Thanksgiving, and we're back at it tonight. We've got a big show planned. What's on your mind, Mark?
Well, it was a great Thanksgiving, and I was socially responsible with just a few family members, and even got to take my daughter out boating the other night. Had to do a little sea trial on my boat, and the weather just in the last couple of days has been absolutely gorgeous, and there are boats out there having fun, and it's a good time to if you've got a boat and can get away from the dock, and it's supposed to be this way for the next couple of days, so it should be pretty nice.
Yeah, a whole lot of sunshine. A little chilly in Seattle today. It's 48 degrees right now, but a lot of sunshine, a lot of beautiful sunsets. I saw some herons today around Green Lake. Got to wondering why there no boating on Green Lake. I'm gonna maybe dig into that in the next couple weeks to see what's going on there, and maybe with maybe pure watercraft with a boat with that technology, we can get boats back on the water. I know that was a big deal with the races gosh, maybe 20 years ago, 30 years
Yeah.
ago. And we'll see. I think the neighbors got a little antsy about all that activity. I kind of ran into that, Mark, recently in Snohomish County.
How so, Peter?
Oh, thank you, Mark. Thanks for that question. Funny you should ask. No, it's a national issue that's reared its head in Washington State, where neighbors complain about the size of the waves and the music coming from the ballasted boats in particular. So they reached out to they did some of that grassroots advocacy, Mark, I'm always talking about. So they reached
Well,
out
you
to their
better explain, Peter, what's a ballasted boat?
well, it's the kind that are more typical for wake surfing, wakeboarding. It's the kind of crowd that we are hoping will embrace boating. Speaking of embracing boating, I'll get to some boat sales numbers in the near future.
Younger than
But
you and I, you mean?
put together,
Yes.
I don't know if that's even right, but it seems like a lot
They
younger.
go out
Yes.
there and they boat, they're active, there's great music, they're having fun on the water. What's not to love?
I know. Apparently, there's some rowdy behavior. Some would say once in a while. So they've raised their hand, and the electeds called on them. So there was a community meeting a couple Fridays ago. So I was on that, speaking up on behalf of. We don't like regulation out of the gate. Let's talk about education. We don't advocate for jerks or unsafe boating. So let's see if we can get some common sense into this. And our industry has done a lot around promoting safe boating. So there's a lot of collateral material that we've been sharing, and we'll see where that goes. But I'll come back to that, Mark, as this series goes along.
That'd be a great topic to pick up, especially as we move closer into the warmer months next year. But we've got a great show lined up tonight. We've got Craig Canine from the San Juan Preservation Trust, who's going to be talking about some of the great work his organization is doing, acquiring property, making sure it doesn't get developed, which I like to point out is not just that we might be able to enjoy it, hiking trails and so forth on land, but more importantly, it really keeps the area looking beautiful. And my favorite example, and we'll talk to Craig about this later on, is Turtleback Mountain on the west side of Orcas Island. Gorgeous mountain, and the San Juan Preservation Trust was instrumental in making sure that it wasn't developed. And so it's beautiful as you go by in your boat. So I'm looking forward to talking to him.
Cool.
Before we get going, we've got some news items.
Yeah. I was going to say I watched a documentary last night, Mark, The Race to Alaska. Hi, Landons. Have you seen the Race to Alaska documentary yet, Mark? I know you're involved with the Northwest Maritime
I've seen
Center.
several of them. I'm not sure I saw the one that was on last night.
Yeah, you wouldn't forget this one. This was as professionally done as any Hollywood movie out there. It was a documentary on the first year's race from soup to nuts, and the stories it told. And then they fast forwarded a couple of years later with Sail Like a Girls team. They showed them winning, and it was, wow, talk about a lifestyle. And it was puts kind of goosebumps on your arms to see that kind of a love of boating out there. So anyway, I wanted to put a plug in for the Race to Alaska. It's interesting. It's not online all the time. So you want to pick your places. You want to donate to Sail Sandpoint, Northwest Maritime Center. And when you get on their list, they'll let you know when it's back up and running, and fantastic.
I'm on the board of the Northwest Maritime Center and was part of the team that gave the thumbs up, let's do it. And it was a very bold move. The race, for those of you not aware, is human or wind powered, no motors. And it's from Port Townsend to Victoria. And then those that make it to Victoria are allowed to continue on and go on to Alaska with really only 2 stops in between. And it's quite an endurance race. And the people who take on this challenge are just remarkable people. Many of them have an unusual story, and how they do it and how they do it successfully has just been amazing over the years. But I got to tell you, we were worried as a board of directors because it's dangerous. There's no escort along the way. You're not allowed to have an escort. And while the Canadian Coast Guard does a really good job of being around and being available, if you get into trouble in our cold, turbulent waters, you're in trouble. And they probably told the story last night. There are a number of people who have gotten into trouble. I talked to one crew that won one year, and I said, well, how did you do it with places like Seymour Narrows, where you have these incredible tidal currents? Did you make sure you went through it slack? And they said, nah, we just went through, we got in the middle, the current caught us, flipped us around and spit us out, and then we kept going. I thought, oh, well, you got a little more guts than I do.
Yeah, that sounds, I can barely handle that at the Great Wolf Lodge.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm going to watch for that documentary again, and I recommend that to all of our viewers. It's a fabulous event, and it's really caught, surprising to us, worldwide attention. And a lot of the people who go on it have never been up the Inside Passage, which I just find incredible. The Landons and I, we've done the trip. I think I'm up to 9 or 10 times. And each time I'm learning something different. And but it's absolutely gorgeous. It's the trip of a lifetime, even if you don't do it during the race.
We might mention that the 2021 theme for the Wagoner Guide is all about some of these races and events. And the Race to Alaska is just one of many exciting events. So look forward to reading about those in your new edition.
Is that coming up? Is there going to be one that's hitting the rack soon?
Well, we're tracking the truck. You know, this is, for us, this time of year is like monitoring Santa's sleigh coming down from the North Pole.
The NORAD.
And yeah, well, NORAD. And this year, I've mentioned this in previous shows, that we printed the Wagoner Guide just below Winnipeg in Altona. And the truck left Monday. And we're told it's going to be in our little hands on next Monday. So we've got one truck going to Canada, one truck coming to beautiful Anacortes, Washington. And we already have them set to go out to stores, and a lot of pre-orders. Thank you very much. And those pre-orders will be shipped next week, as well as we're trying to get a hold of the list. And those of you who are kind enough to donate for the Lake Bay Marina donation drive, we'll be getting books off to you. And we thank you for your support for that effort.
Right on.
So we have some other news that's gone on. You know, since we started this series in May, the top question is always, what's the status of the border? And we got some new updates. The Prime Minister Trudeau came on, and he's been pretty honest about it. And he pretty well said the border's not going to open until the numbers in both countries start trending down. And currently, they're not doing that. They're going the other way, and which is unfortunate. Now, they did officially come out and say the border will be closed until January 21st. And then there were some newspaper articles in Bellingham and other places that talked about speculation that the border might not even open at all in 2021. So we don't know. I will say I watch this like a hawk, and I'm getting cautiously optimistic about the rollout of the vaccine in both countries, what that's going to do to the numbers, and will that give our politicians the confidence that they will feel that they can safely open up the border. So we'll watch it every week, but right now we're going in the wrong direction.
Well, word is at the Seattle Cancer Care Alliance that the nurses there will be getting the vaccine in 2 weeks, Mark.
Yeah, we
Crazy.
have one of our nurses, Annie Fireheisen, who
A friend of the show.
yes, did a show, one of our shows, and teaches at Boat Show University, and she works at Harborview, and I worry about her and other frontline workers, and pleased that they're going to be in the first round of people that will be eligible for vaccination. So we'll continue to report on it, but they haven't put a category in for boaters who want to go to Canada. And I'm
Those are essential.
disappointed. Yes, essential boaters.
They're
Yes,
called on the Constitution. I mean,
that's right. That's right. So anyway, we don't know, and that's the word. And if the vaccine continues to look like it does in terms of its effectiveness, we'll be cautiously optimistic. We had some other news over the last couple of days, actually over the holidays. One of the things that was rather shocking for those that go boating up to Pender Harbor, BC, is many have gone to the Garden Bay Hotel and Pub. And it was always a joke because the Garden Bay Hotel and Pub was never a hotel, but it was always part of the name. So when you're introducing people to it and you say hotel and pub, and they go, well, where's the hotel? The hotel never was there. But anyway, it had changed hands about 3 years ago, and there were some problems there last summer, and a big problem this past weekend. There was a fire, and it caused quite a bit of damage, and will probably never open again, is the short story. I don't know what it'll mean for the marina. The fire did not extend into the marina area or down to the docks, but the building and the pub, where there was great music and a wonderful deck to sit out on in the summertime, is probably no more. So, and then over the weekend, thanks to one of our correspondents, Dean Hislop, he sent a note that, well, here's a picture of Garden Bay.
yeah, I got it up there. I was a little short on the draw there, Mark, but I tried, yeah.
All right. But Dean sent us a note that the Nordland store on Marrowstone Island, for those of you not aware of Marrowstone Island, that's directly across the water from Port Townsend, and a beautiful park there, beautiful anchorage. And the store was over 100 years old, just a classic, you know, the thick wood beamed floors and big potbelly stove, and just a neat place. Well, unfortunately, they had a fire also this past weekend. It's not clear, the building wasn't completely burned down, but it's not clear whether they're going to rebuild, refinish, or what. So unfortunately, a favorite for this area is going to be closed for some time.
I got a photo of that too, Mark. There you go, Nordland. This is from the local newspaper.
Our understanding is that they will gut the interior and refurbish the inside. So there's hope. They were covered by insurance. So that's good news.
Yeah, that is good news. It'd be horrible to miss that landmark there. So I look forward to that.
And I'll put that story in the chat. Speaking of the chat, I'd encourage folks to use the chat throughout the entire show with questions, comments. We love feedback as long as it's positive.
I have a couple more updates for you, Mark.
Yeah.
If boaters are going down to Bowman Bay, Deception Pass State Park, they should be aware that the pier and the attached dock is closed indefinitely. It's unsafe and in need of repairs, and they're looking for funding. So it looks like another 2 or 3 or possibly even 4 years before that's open. Boaters can, however, still use the detached float in the bay that's available, as well as the float at nearby Shark Cove. So there's still those options. Also be aware, Silverdale docks, there's no power or water indefinitely. Again, they're seeking grant monies and funding so they can install new power and water in Silverdale. And as you mentioned, Mark, the border is closed through January 21. But the news we've read from DC, they're saying probably not open until spring at the earliest. So keep that in mind. We're looking forward to hopeful opening in spring sometime.
All right.
And, a little bit so with some updates too, a little bit closer to home, or in there's a 60 or 67 foot motor vessel that sank last week in just about a half-mile south of Brownsville Marina, and that's in the Port Orchard Channel, right between the island and the peninsula. And again, it's about a half-mile south of Brownsville. It sank in about 60 feet of water. Right now, it's the Coast Guard lists it as an underwater obstruction, but it is in about 60 feet of water. There's no determination as to what kind of a hazard it is. There's no cleanup going on right now and no spill on that. That happened last weekend. I guess it was a boat that had been anchored out there for quite a while, and apparently the owner would come out regularly and attend to it, but didn't get to it soon enough, I guess. So that sank last weekend on Thanksgiving weekend, I guess. Then our other big news was we wanted to go through the list of lighted boat parades. So in this very, very unusual year where boating was curtailed quite a bit and certain things were always a surprise, this is a pleasant surprise because boating, the lighted boat parade is one of those things that does fit into the social distancing. As a matter of fact, one of the places said that social distancing for the lighted boat parade, and that's of course at night boating, it says social distancing amounts to maintaining at least 1 or 2 boat lengths between the boats around you. So again, great social distancing. And it's one of those things where the lighted boats are parading around and people on shore can be spread out at social distance and still enjoy it. So we wanted to run down these things. So starting from the South Sound, in South Sound, Case Inlet, Fair Harbor, on December 11th and 12th. Most of these, by the way, they're all posted, by the way, on WagonerGuide.com. So go out there and there's an article. And there's also, it's in our WagonerGuide.com updates table. And so go ahead and check it out there for details. So there's a lot more detail if you want to be invited or be involved in this. And by the way, our list really is just the parades where you, the boater, can decorate your boat and participate in this. So again, South Sound, Case Inlet, December 11th and 12th. Most of these start about 6 p.m. Check for the details. And they're going to go through Case Inlet. Gig Harbor is the next one, and that's the Gig Harbor Yacht Club sponsors that on December 12th. And they're going to take 2 laps around Gig Harbor with that one. The next one is in Commencement Bay, Tacoma, and it's sponsored by the Tacoma Yacht Club. They leave from Ruston, and the boats will travel along the shoreline and down into Foss Waterway. And then the next one is Liberty Bay, Paulsbo area. And that'll be on December 12th. And by the way, on Commencement Bay, that's December 19th. Paulsbo is December 12th. And that one leaves Paulsbo. It's sponsored by Paulsbo Yacht Club. Lighted boats will go from Liberty Bay, Paulsbo, and they'll go out into Port Orchard and down Manzanita Bay, Agate Pass, Port Madison, up into Port Madison, and then back to Paulsbo. And the next one is actually the big one in Seattle was canceled this year, but there's a smaller one that's benefiting Children's Hospital. And to be involved in this one, you're asked to bring 2 gifts, one for a boy, one for a girl. And again, that's to benefit Children's Hospital. And that's Lake Union. It's going to depart from Fremont area, and that's on December 19th. And it'll go west to east. So it'll go kind of picture it as clockwise around Lake Union. And by the way, if you're out in these areas, a reason we're describing the waterways is if you don't have a chance to decorate your boat and be out there, please go out and view these wonderful displayed boats. Next one's in the Port of Everett, Mukilteo Yacht Club on December 5th. And that one is going to be the yacht club, and it'll be down to Mukilteo and the port in the Port Everett area. Anacortes, Guaymas Channel, that'll leave from the Cap Sandy and go out the Guaymas Channel, south side of Guaymas Island, and then in front of the north side of Anacortes and back into Cap Sandy again. And that one is on December 5th. Also on December 5th is Bellingham Bay, the Case Inlet. And that one is sponsored by the Bellingham Yacht Club. That one's going to be around the Bellingham Bay. And then up in BC, Oak Bay, the Royal Victoria Yacht Club has an event on December 4th. And then the last one is actually down in Portland, Oregon, Vancouver, Washington area on December 4th. And that's going to be 15 different nights down there, and starting on December 4th and runs through December 22nd. So decorate up your boat, head out there, have a crew on board. If you haven't done this before, it's a really special thing to do, but have a crew on board. It gets a little tight out there when it's in pitch black dark and all the boats are congregated together. So it helps to have another set of eyes looking around to help you with the guiding the boat around. But get the boat decorated up.
Hey, Landon's asking for a friend. When's that Seattle boat parade again?
The Lake Union is.
Yeah.
Lake Union, and
Yeah.
that is on December 19th.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Sounds like a lot of fun. I know the Anacortes one, I watch the numbers every day, and right now, as of this afternoon, 23 boats will be in the parade. So, and they're requesting anybody on shore to have glow sticks or lights so that the people on the boats can see. And the group that I'm going to be going down on the shore to watch, they're out looking around for battery operated Christmas lights tonight so they can decorate their body for the parade. Anyway, it'll be a busy night in Anacortes.
Just a reminder that all those the details on that, a lot more details about how you can enter. Some of these ask that most of them ask that if you're going to participate, that you pre-register, and a number of them require and want you to participate in a captain's orientation before the event as well. So check the WagnerGuide.com, and there's an article out there with all the details. Hit the bell. Oh.
And have a lot of fun with it. I've got one more news item, and then we've got a question that came in the chat line from Sue Peterson, which we'll get to. But on Monday, there was an accident out in the Pacific Ocean due to rough waves and rough sea conditions that the container ship one Apus actually listed and dropped into the water. They estimate 1,900 containers, 40 of which are designated as having dangerous cargo. So these containers are going to be floating around. Now, things like this have happened before, but never with as many containers. And these containers can float around for quite a while. Unfortunately, they're just below the surface, and it can be quite a hazard. So it'll be interesting to watch to see what happens as a result of that. And I know some of my friends have sailed across the Pacific, have had concerns about running into a container. And I think this year is a year that it could be a real concern. And they haven't announced what they're going to do about it. The ship that dropped the containers is now en route back to Japan, where they're going to take the containers that are hanging off the side of the boat and all jumbled on it. And Peter, we had a picture of it. Were you able to?
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, thank you. Yep.
And you can see these containers just barely hanging on, and they're going to go back to port, reset the containers, and also do a count to determine, look at that mess. And can you just imagine those containers tumbling off into the side, and some of them may be sinking immediately. Some may not be sinking for a while and may end up on our beaches here. So unfortunately, these things happen, and it shouldn't affect too many of our viewers who stay typically on the inside passage.
The real tragic part for me, Mark, was 1,700 of those 1,900 containers contained Christmas gifts I had ordered you.
Oh,
That's the awful part. That's the part that hurts.
That is.
I'm sorry.
Well, those of us, we used to print the Ports and Passes book in China, and we were commenting today on email back and forth that it's good we printed this year in Canada. It could have been on that ship coming from China. But
Did you? I was going to ask you. Did you print in Canada because of the closure, and it'd be easier to get the magazines, books to Canadian customers, and then
it's
to
a
the
real
US?
good question. No, the reasoning more, we were worried about duties, fees, which we did have to pay last year. We were worried about the trade situation going back and forth between the US and China, whether there could be a disruption. And our worst fear was that our books could get printed, be sitting on a container and sitting at the docks in China and not able to get over here. We had never even thought about a container getting lost overboard, which would have been a bit of a catastrophic problem. But we're ours are over the border, and they're on their way, maybe sitting in a snowdrift in North Dakota, but hopefully not. So Sue Peterson had a question on the chat line that she and her friends keep reading on various forum posts about the treaty that is in place between Canada and the US, allowing boats to do a free transit through Canada on the way to Alaska. And there were a number of boats that utilized this provision last year. For years, fishermen have used it, where they take their fishing boat from the Seattle area and will go up through British Columbia. So we're going to be doing more investigation on this. We've been in touch with some of the authorities, and our friends at the Victoria International Marina are looking into this situation for us. And we're going to report on this later. We're even looking at it as an option for one of our Wagner flotillas to Alaska. So we're looking at a couple of different things on it, and we'll be reporting on this as we get into the new year. So thank you, Sue, for that question. That about wraps up our news. Quite a bit.
A lot going on, yeah.
Yeah, a lot going on. And but we've got a great guest. And Craig, why don't you join us? Craig Canine is the communications director. Hi, Craig. Good evening.
Hello there. Very lovely to be with you from Jones Island, as you can tell. That's where I'm standing. It's kind of a weird effect with the virtual background, but I'll try to stay still so I'm not.
Craig is
looking
actually
around.
joining us from Orcas Island, but that's just fine. And that is his boat in the picture, which is probably where he wishes he could have been today on a beautiful day like today. So
That is
Craig,
cool.
not everybody has heard about the San Juan Preservation Trust. Can you tell us a little bit about the organization and what they do and some of their accomplishments?
I would be delighted to. Thank you, Mark. I would like to say that a really good introduction to the San Juan Preservation Trust is actually on page 212. You might not be able to see this with the virtual background of your 2020 Wagner's Guide. The whole entire page, in fact, is an article about the Preservation Trust, and I think I have Lorena and Leonard primarily to thank for your support, because it talks about who we are and what we do. But in a nutshell, the Preservation Trust is a nonprofit, private nonprofit organization. Well, thank you. I was going to actually share the screen of the.
Go for it. I can stop. Yeah, why don't I just get out of this?
Am I able to share my screen?
You bet. Yeah, and if you can't, I can do it.
Sure. Here we go. Yeah, because I was going to. Can you see it now?
Yes.
Looks great.
Looks great.
A little tour a little later on of our preserves, but this just provides in a nutshell, who we are and what we do. We're a nonprofit. We are not a tax-supported government organization. We are a nonprofit that works to work with private landowners to protect and conserve property that maybe, actually most of the 18,000 acres that we protect are done it's not actually land that we own. It is land that is owned by other people, private owners like you, who have decided that they want their farm or their family compound or their cabin or their whatever, that they want to pass it down, or even sell it, but protect it the way it is, and not that's part of their legacy that they want to leave. And so through conservation easements is the tool that we use to protect. It goes with the title of the land, and each one is different. It's a private legal document that describes how you want to protect your property going. And the goal primarily is really to protect the conservation values, whether it be a upland forest. Certainly, shoreline, undeveloped shoreline properties are one of the things that we most like to see protected. Farm, agricultural land, open spaces. In this photo here, kind of behind the screen, is showing San Juan Valley on San Juan Island, that shows Zylstra Lake. But most of that valley is agricultural land that is protected by the San Juan Preservation Trust. And it's not going to get turned into little 5-acre ranchettes. So we're really about trying to preserve the beauty and the natural integrity of the things that make everybody think the San Juan Islands are great in the first place, including boaters. So so that's our charter. We are not primarily an organization that exists to create public access to lands, although we understand the importance of doing that, and we do, whenever possible, encourage and create opportunities for public access. But part of what we do is to decide certain places are really need to be there for the wildlife, and that's a conservation value that's worth preserving. And so as long as the rate of development outpaces that of conservation, which it certainly does by a factor of several fold, we'll have work cut out for us. So sjpt.org is our website, where I hope you'll explore a little bit yourself. But here on our website, we have this one heading called Visit Our Preserves. These are preserves that are accessible to the public, that we do encourage folks to come visit. And these are kind of our, according to our website metrics, some that people are searching for most often. So Mount Grant is on San Juan Island. Turtleback Mountain was mentioned earlier. Mark talked about that. Vendovia Island is, I think, where we'll start our little journey. But I'm gonna click here on Map of All Preserves for right now and show you kind of the lay of the land a little bit. So as you can see, there are protected properties that are accessible to the public kind of all over. We don't confine our activities just to the county. We say we protect the archipelago. Before the Skagit Land Trust existed, we worked on Fidalgo Island and Guimas, for example, to help protect some lands there. And you may be familiar with right there on Burroughs Bay. There's about 1.5 miles of protected shoreline that was protected in I believe it was 92. And so that will never be developed. And so if you boat in that area or live in that area, you benefit from some of our conservation work. So let's see. I didn't mean to do that. We let's see here. Vendovia is it's way the heck over. I'm not even sure if I can get to it on my. Well, here it is. Here's little Vendovia Island. And, here's some information about it. If you click on, if you click on one of those little icons, you'll see information. So Vendovi is an island that was privately owned by a family called the Flukes most recently. And John Fluke developed the multimeter that we all use on our boats, and which are used, and other equipment, electric metering and measurement equipment. And so he did that around World War II and after. And so he had a lot of money, and they decided on a whim to buy Vendovi Island. It went up for sale after his death in about 2010. I won't go through the whole story of how we acquired it, but it was a little bit of a sales job, though, really, because nobody knew what Vendovi Island was. Few people had ever visited it, and so we had to raise significant funds to complete the purchase of Vendovi. But now it's really one of our I think our flagships, if you will, because it's an entire island, and you can visit it. The Flukes built a breakwater in the North Cove of Vendovi, and so it forms a protected area with a 40-foot dock. The preserve is open typically April through the end of September each year. We do have full-time caretakers who live on the island during that period. They have a weekend on Tuesdays and Wednesdays, I believe. So you have to pay attention of what days of the week during the season that you visit. Like I said, there's a 40-foot dock. Both sides are generally open on a first come first served basis. We do not allow anchoring in the cove because there's some eelgrass there that we want to protect. So it's kind of a wait your turn sort of situation during the high season. But wow, there's some beautiful trails. It's an unusual place in these islands or in this region in that deer, they're deer that occasionally they swim. So, we see evidence of a deer or two, but they don't stay. And so the whole understory is this is what happens when the vegetation isn't butchered by our four-hooved friends, and it's really kind of a remarkable landscape.
Craig,
And
how
there's
big is the staff at the San Juan Preservation Trust?
We have, sorry, I didn't really get too much into the organization, but we have currently, I think we're at 11 full-time staff folks. We have, as well as a number of seasonal caretakers. We have one on Waldron, where we have a couple of preserves. We also have, we have a caretaker, part-time caretaker at the Ellis Preserve, which is on Shaw Island. So maybe I'll move on in our little our tour. I don't know if people may have further questions about Vendovi, but you can learn more by clicking through on the website. I mentioned Waldron.
I was just gonna add also that that on Vendovi, the trails are spectacular, and hike the trail all the way to the south end, and there's a spectacular view back down towards Guaymas Island, and just a beautiful place, wonderful time.
Yeah, there's a total of about 2+ miles of trails, but it's yeah, one takes you to one overlook and one takes you to another, and yeah, well worth the visit. And also there's a Midden Beach that's accessible on the trail system, and so it's a but we're not sure. This past year we delayed the opening due to COVID, and we don't know what's going to be the situation this year. So pay attention if you're interested. I would urge people to go to our website and sign up for the e-newsletter, because that's where we will be announcing things like when Vendovi will open, and keep you current on that. other items I think that Leonard indicated interest in, one was Kimball, way down here at the southern tip of, of Decatur Island. Kimball is, it's another, small but kind of cool place. I'm going to click through to the map. It's this Tombolo, which is essentially a spit that is that doesn't get flooded at high tide generally, and it connects an island off of a larger island or mainland. And so we have there are a couple of great moorage areas around here. It's a protected, if I could zoom back, I could show kind of the setting. But those of you who've been, so it's really all of the Lopez, this protected area throughout kind of the eastern side of, I'm sorry, this keeps popping up. Stop popping. There's we've anchored there a number of times, and you can take your dinghy and land on that that beach of the Tombolo and enjoy some trails. They're not, you won't get a great amount of exercise, but it's a pretty spot and a great area to explore by boat.
Some of the trails, you go up pretty far. It's quite steep, but very hikeable, doable. And the views up there are spectacular because you can see in all directions. It's really fabulous.
Going, kind of skipping around here, back up to Henry Island. Those of you who have transited Mosquito Pass have gone by one of our preserves there. We originally had a preserve that was right along the shoreline of Mosquito Pass, which is here in this photo. And this was the original protected area, but subsequently we've acquired this entire, it's the bar that connects the two sides of the H of Henry Island. And it's really the only way that people who live there can get from one side to the other side of the island via this trail that crosses the isthmus. And there was some thought that this might actually be sold for housing development, and that the public access trail would be closed down. So the Henry Islanders approached the Preservation Trust, and together we were able to protect this entire isthmus. And so there's a nice trail system. This side of the isthmus is, as you can see, very shallow. It's a salt marsh. It's a fascinating ecosystem with all sorts of unique wildlife. This is the deeper bay that comes in from. You see here. I'm going to zoom back out to the big map. So anyways, the deeper bay is this one here that, so anybody who comes through Garrison Bay or Westcott Bay or through Mosquito Pass, I think might enjoy this as a stop off. What else is on the list here? Well, Turtleback is not on the water, as you know, but it's certainly one of the most iconic landscape features in the islands. And it was put up for sale in 2005, 2006 by the estate of Norton Clapp, who was the chairman of Weyerhaeuser Corporation, who over a period of many years basically bought up properties on Turtleback and amassed something like 1,600 acres of land that really constitutes pretty much the whole massif, if you will, of Turtleback. The head or knob of it was not part of it, and we subsequently were able to acquire that, as well as a connection that we call Turtle Neck. So there's a great path that goes from Turtleback down the neck and then up to Turtle Head, which is a fabulous, I don't know if Leonard and Lorena, if you've been there, but this is one of the best views in the islands, primarily to the south, but also it's pretty much at least 180-degree view of the islands. It's just fabulous.
And while you can't go boating to Turtleback, a lot of people will go to the Deer Harbor Marina.
Yeah, it's not that far. What's it, about a mile maybe to the trailhead?
Well, and they even offer their shuttle van to people who want to run over to Turtleback Mountain and hike the trails.
And it says challenging there. I don't know. I wouldn't consider it super challenging. I think I did it this summer. It was doable for sure. I'm not exactly, I know what you're thinking, Mark. Oh, Peter, you're in the best shape of anyone I've ever seen. Thank you. But I don't think I'm in the most fantastic shape, and I was able to do it.
Well,
So.
we live about a mile away. We go there almost every day in the summertime after dinner, and it's just it's part of our the amazing quality, thing about living in the island is that, but there are actually two trailheads. There's the south one that you're talking about that's closer to Deer Harbor, and then there's a north one that's even less accessible by water. But if you're on the island, it's probably the easiest way to get to Turtle Head by the north trailhead. We mentioned a couple of times Shaw Island and things there. So here's the Grand Preserve that is accessible from the county park there at Indian Cove, and it has that relatively short but beautiful up and back trail that goes through varied forests, and just a lovely way to get off the boat and spend some time. It's
Craig, I wanted to add on that one too, that it's accessible from the, as you say, from the county park, the main county park on Indian Cove. And we anchored there and went through the county park and accessed your Graham Preserve. And then if you come out the southwest end of your Graham Preserve, it drops you into yet another county park. That's a delightful place. It's kind of an undeveloped county park with a rustic trail through it, and then the ruins of a homestead log cabin in there for discovery. It's quite the hike to go through there, and then back to the county park on Indian Cove. It makes a perfect afternoon hike.
Yeah, really, and the road that kind of parallels that trail is very lightly used, and so you can make kind of a loop of it if you walk down the trail and back up the road. But just at the end of 2017, Fred and his wife Marilyn Ellis passed away. Well, they had both died previously, but their estate, their heirs, donated to the Preservation Trust what we now call the Marilyn and Fred Ellis Preserve, which is on Parks Bay. So it's a little farther west of the Grand Preserve. There is a dock. I don't know how many of you have anchored in Parks Bay. It's one of our favorite anchorages.
It's beautiful. I agree.
It's a very busy one, and Fred, apparently, the legend has it that Fred Ellis used to go out in the evenings, and he would go to each boat anchored in Parks Bay, and he would give them a little piece of paper that had a message, which was basically, please respect the beauty and the nature that you see around here. Please, tread lightly, if you will. Be careful where you anchor. There's a lot of eelgrass around the margins of Parks Bay. The western side of the bay, or southwestern, is actually also it's a nature preserve owned by UW Friday Harbor Labs, which was also donated by Fred and Marilyn Ellis. So pretty much the entire perimeter of this incredible bay that's very close to Friday Harbor is protected in perpetuity. And it actually extends all the way to the bay. I'm sorry, this is not a very great scale of map to be trying to point things out on. But it extends to the bay that is just to the south of it as well. So it's a little far to walk to the, we're about to open a 2-mile trail that is really lovely on the Ellis Preserve. And I encourage you, if you can, if you visit Shaw and can get there to check out that trail. I'll be adding it to this map sometime in the near future when that trail opens up. So far, that preserve has not been open regularly to the public. I've been talking for a long time. I'm just going to mention some news that we've just announced is that a donor, let me see if I can find the, no, that's not it. Well, I'm going to have to go back to the, we just acquired Reef Islands. So if you're familiar with the Wasp Islands, just outside of Deer Harbor, kind of including McConnell and Coon and where is it? Let's go right here. It's a 17-acre island. It's near Yellow Island. So for those of you who may have visited Yellow, which is a conservation, the TNC, the Nature Conservancy, still owns that island. It's in that island group. It's you got to keep your eyes on your chart plotter because you know there are a lot of rocks and reefs in that area, but it's a beautiful protected area. It's kind of to the to the southwest of Jones Island. If you've been there, it's close to so Crane Island, McConnell, Coon, Yellow. Those are some of the better known islands in this group. And this is we're not planning opening this to the public, but it's a and that was the wishes of the donor who gave us $4 million to acquire it. But it's just part of the boating experience that you can enjoy these undeveloped, this beautiful, pristine shoreline, really throughout the San Juan Islands. So I guess my parting thought really is to just encourage you to visit our site, press that donate button, because anybody who gives anything to support our work is a member of the Preservation Trust, and you'll get our newsletters and so on. But you can be proud that you're part of protecting the beauty. The whole reason why the San Juan Islands are among the top boating destinations in the world is really because of the nature and the natural features that still, I mean, you know, it's not as pristine as you might think, but we're trying our best to, you know, keep the southern resident whales around, and all the other parts of the food web that, you know, they're at the pinnacle of it. And so, you know, protecting salmon habitat on shorelines is another main one of our goals. And so so anyway, I'm gonna be quiet now, and I don't know if any questions have popped up.
You know, they haven't, but I'm going to put a few ways that people can find the San Juan Preservation Trust on their social media, different outlets. So stand by for that in the chat box. Craig, do you have any homework for the our guests watching at home? Do you have any calls to action for them? Donate, I suppose.
Aside from joining and donating, I think, you know, just signing up to receive the e-newsletter, which won't cost you anything, is a way to keep abreast of conservation news in the islands, and also news you can use a little bit, like things like when Vendovi is going to reopen.
And Craig,
you know,
didn't San Juan Preservation Trust play a part in Westcott Bay? Can you give us some history on that?
And the Westcott Bay shellfish.
Farm?
I'd be delighted to. Yeah, so that, I don't know how many of our listeners or watchers have been to Westcott Bay or Garrison Bay, but there's a shellfish farm in Westcott Bay that was originally actually part of the English camp property originally, but it was parceled off and developed on a very small scale by folks who raised shellfish there. And that operation kind of became, run down. And it's a very labor intensive kind of type of farming, really. And so they were trying to sell the property, and the people who had visited, the West, when it was open, the oyster farm there was a traditional place where people growing up around there on Henry Island and San Juan Island, all around, used to go there, and it was part of, it was part of life. And so there was a kind of an outcry. People were sad to see this this shellfish farm. I mean, if you've been there, it's just spectacular Westcott Bay water frontage. And it no doubt would have been developed as a very high-end residential property. But I guess the long story short is that there's a story about it on our website, but there was 70 acres that are adjacent. They kind of are in between Westcott Bay Shellfish Farm and English Camp. And the national parks, or the Bureau of Land Management, well, the national parks wanted to reacquire that 70 acres, but they, due to the timing of federal appropriations and stuff like that, they needed a bridge, a way of financing, bridging the financing. So we stepped in and helped put that all together. But part of that was finding a buyer for the shellfish farm, which we did actually. One of our current trustees and one of our former trustees who are married, Eric and Angela Anderson, purchased it and have done an amazing job of kind of reinvesting in the business. And it's just one of the most delightful. We were there just a couple of weeks ago, and they've been able to stay open because they have widely spaced tables outdoors. And so, but you have to have a reservation. And so anyway, if you're in that area on either on San Juan Island, or if you're boating in Westcott Bay or Garrison Bay, it'll be one of the highlights of your trip if you stop there and have some barbecued oysters at the shellfish farm. But anyway,
Very
the
nice.
Preservation Trust we don't have our name on it. It's not on one of our maps, but it's part of how we have occasionally worked in the background to try to put together deals that are, really to the benefit of the community, locally and beyond.
Very nice. Very inspiring. Good
Do you
work.
know whether at the oyster farm, do they still have the usually the low tide day when there's a full moon or a new moon, where people can walk along the beach when the water goes out and pick oysters off the beach for a fee, a nominal fee?
Well, Mark, that sounds delightful, but no, they're not encouraging that. I think that, this is a very serious shellfish operation. They've really kind of professionalized the operation, and so people are not encouraged to walk along
I understand.
and harvest their own. But typically in non-COVID times, you can choose your own. You can choose your own oysters from the cold bins, and shuck them yourself. Or what we really love are the barbecued ones that they prepare, and then we take a bunch of chubbies home or back to the boat and grill them, shuck them and grill them ourselves. So you can get a couple of good meals out of it.
Yeah.
Very good. Well,
Well,
anything
now-
else? Yeah, thank you, Craig. I want to thank you for joining us tonight. Mark, anything else we want to get across before we say goodnight?
No, we just want to get everybody's excitement. There's many of us on this show and at the NMTA office that are really getting ready for a virtual boat show, Seattle Boat Show Connect. Tickets will go on sale December 15th, and there will be more detail information on the NMTA or the Seattle Boat Show website about that. I can let it slip. There's going to be free seminars like there have been before that people can attend. There will be about 75 of those.
Yeah, I'll be hosting those, Mark.
Yep. And Seattle Boat Show University will be there with about 15. We'll have the experts once again. Nigel Calder is going to make an appearance and be available for people who have questions. And that's going to be the cool thing. Using the chat function, you can participate and ask the speakers questions, and they're going to stop occasionally and then come on and answer your questions for you. So it's going to be a little different than the normal boat show. You will be able to walk the show. I think people are going to be really curious about this, that you'll be able to walk the aisles of the show virtually. And there will be booths. It's going to be interesting.
It's not your typical Zoom room deal whatsoever. You know, I just on the seminar side, Mark, I don't know if you know this, but I talked with the boys on the boat author this week. He'll be on my show. I got Chef Ethan Stoll. He'll be on my show. I've got a few Hollywood stars from television that I've got Captain Keith from Deadliest Catch. Got Captain Sandy and Captain Lee from a show called Below Deck, which I have not seen, Mark, on Bravo, which is a boating show.
Haven't seen Below
I know,
Deck?
I think I'm the last person on earth, but so yeah, I'll be reaching out to a few folks. I've got Diane Lander on my list to call tomorrow. So Diane, wait for my call. I want to get you on the show. So yeah, this will be some very exciting times in the NMTA at the NMTA Ranch.
And Mark, did you want to mention Groesbeck?
Oh, nice job, Landon.
Yes, our sponsor. Thank you. No, we appreciate the Groesbeck Group, and I recommend you go to their website. They've got a number of properties. They've got a dock that's for sale. There's a gorgeous little cottage type home in Anacortes that is 4-bedroom, 2.5 bath, and worth looking at. And you'll notice a theme when you look at their different properties, that often the photography will show you the views of the water that these homes offer. And this is Jean Groesbeck and her crew, their specialty. And if you have the desire to escape Seattle or California, or Peter, where's your mother tonight? In Indiana? Or
yeah, you keep getting this wrong, Mark. I think you're getting it wrong on purpose. St. Louis, Missouri. St. Louis, Missouri. Yes.
Show me state. That's
right.
right.
That's right.
And Peter, if she's looking for a home to come out, there they are.
Yeah. I don't think you'd have to ask her twice. No doubt about it. These are beautiful properties.
Yeah. So anyway, some great properties there to take a look at. And you can tell them where you heard about them. We wouldn't mind at all. And, but we thank Jean and her crew for sponsoring Seattle Boat Show Live, as well as the 2021 Wagner Cruising Guide. Now, don't ring the bell because they paid for that.
Oh, okay. You know, I didn't read all the protocols around bell ringing. You know,
well, if I work it in as a you know a unabashed promotion, I understand. But no, with it,
they paid for that bell. That's that old Ronald Reagan line. I paid for this microphone. He said it famously in the debate.
That's
yeah.
Right.
Well, episode 27, we had a delightful guest in Craig Canine. Thank you, Craig. Great to see the Landons. Episode 27 of Saturday Live. It actually had a little boating tie. I was able in my research, Mark. It was Eric Idle, whose name may not ring a bell to you. Maybe it does. I don't know. Monty Python fame.
Yes, I remember.
And as the pandemic started, there was a story that broke out of London, that there was a tugboat that actually was on the River Thames, blaring, "Always look on the bright side of life."
Of course.
You know that song.
Of course, absolutely.
Yeah, fantastic song, great song. And so yeah, it's right as that's when we thought everything would get back to normal in a few weeks, and it certainly didn't. But yeah, great story, great song, and Here it is right here. Tugboat sails down the River Thames, blessing, always look on the bright side of life. So I guess leave it to our friends over on the other side of the pond to know how to brighten up people's spirits. So I thought I would call an audible here, Mark, if you don't mind. And I think we could just end it. I'm not going to have you do a sing along. So I can figure this out.
Okay.
I think we're going to turn off our cameras and I'm going to play Always Look on the Bright Side of Life as we go out. How does that sound?
That sounds very bold.
It's either
and
going to work or
primitive.
it's not. I mean, my mom's already in bed. I don't know. We've got a few.
You're on your
Landons are
own.
out of here.
There's no
All right.
safety net under this one.
All right. Well, Mark,
I'm
I will
going
catch you.
off. Good night,
I'll catch you
everybody.
next Thursday, and I'm going to figure this out. And no one go anywhere. Let's see if we can get this here. Bam. All right. We're getting there. Let's see. Here we go. Do this. Twist that dial. There we go. Just look on the bright side of life. Always look on the right side of life. It's quite absurd. Boom. Your sin. Always look on the bright side of death. Always look on the bright side of life. Look on the bright side of life. Look on the bright side of life. Side of life. All right. Well, good night, everybody.